Welcome back to Book It, the show where we talk about books and what they can do with you and through you and for you. Today, we're happy to have back as our guest Wayne Kuhn to talk about his new book, Recharge. Welcome back, Wayne.
Hello, Bud. Good to see you.
I thought today we'd talk about chapter 7 of your book, which you've titled Reboot and Recharge. But as I read through it, I thought it could almost more properly have been titled The Hour of Power.
Yes.
Not to be confused with the Robert Schuller TV show that was on a few years ago. Can you tell us a little bit about the first hour of your day and why you think it's so important?
I think what I wanted to, share with you today about this chapter is the importance of starting your day correctly. Maybe not correctly, but energized. And so I call it the hour of power. It's that moment when you get out of bed, what do you do? And most people, I'd say likely 75% of the people do the same thing, and maybe even more, have the same routine in the morning. And really what happens is if we keep the same routine, we end up with the same results. And that's not a bad thing, although is the routine that you're doing, the routine that you're following, getting you the result you want. And so I studied this more and more. And first of all, number one thing is getting up early. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not a morning person. Well, why aren't you a morning person? And I use examples in the book of moments in history or in time and in my life where I've gotten up really early, and I thought, it's the excitement. It's knowing where you want to go that's exciting. For example, if, I don't know, you mentioned you've been to Cuba a few times down south. Maybe there's a time when you had to get up at 3 a.m. in the morning and catch a plane at the airport at 5 a.m. or something. And you have no trouble getting up. In fact, you have trouble going to sleep that night because you're so excited about getting up and getting into the car and heading for the airport. So what if every day was like that you were so excited about what you're doing and where you're going and what's happening in your life that when 6 o'clock come, you're jumping out of bed and saying, wow, I got to get down there and I got to get working on this. And so my past year in writing this book, that's what I found is that I start the day early. And there's 7 things I think that I look at in this chapter, and I won't go through each one of them, but some of them are programming your mind, because unless you change the program that you're presently running on, you're not going to get any different results. So things about reviewing your goals, writing out what exactly you want, building that character. If you want to have a better diet, what are you eating for breakfast? If you want to, exercise more, get the adrenaline going in the morning, and then start programming your mind with positive affirmations about things that you want to do, that you are a certain way, that you want to reach a certain level of whatever, maybe in Toastmasters or financial or whatever it is. You start to program that all within that hour. We address that so that by the time the hour is over, you're saying, come on, world, give me that day, and you're excited about the rest of the day. And I just get excited about telling you about it because it's the way to start the day. I've run into people that maybe they're semi-retired and that, and they go, oh yeah, I get up about 9 a.m. and we read the newspaper and we don't do a whole lot, but oh yeah, we went for groceries yesterday, and like whoa, you're just burning up valuable time. What do you really want? It's not too late. It's not too late. So that's about the hour. That first hour in the morning is so critical and so crucial to where you want to go. Yeah.
I totally agree with you there. I've practiced that same kind of thinking for years now, and I really do like the idea of starting your day with some pop, and knowing where you're going and planning on that. One of the things you mention in your book actually is one of my favorites, and that is visualization. The
Mhm.
idea of creating an image of what you want your life to be, and starting your day with that in mind.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, do you have any specific practices you do that help you with that?
I think the what happens is in I give myself time for it to unfold is when I read, for example, if I read uh, uh, one of my mantras is that I am so happy and grateful that I'm now a professional speaker traveling all over the world speaking to thousands of people. I visualize myself on stage. There's 2,000 people in front of me, and they're all intensely watching for every word that I'm saying. And the stage is huge, and I'm walking back and forth, and there's lots of energy and there's lots of lights. So if you visualize that, hey, wow, I think I can do that. And then it goes one step further is, what am I going to say that will impact these people for the rest of their life? And just it builds that energy and lifts them up. Now I can bring, like, I've been selling real estate for many years, and that same visualization is what I have when I'm driving in my car behind the steering wheel to that appointment. I visualize sitting at the table. They're going to be there, and I'm going to open my thing, and they're going to be so excited about what I have to tell them. That's,
Yeah.
yeah, you visualize that and you build that scenario. Um, the opposite can be very true. Is many people visualize failure. Like, they visualize, well, what if the road's slippery? What if there's ice in the road today and I got to go out in the mall, and what if somebody slides into me? And like, do you actually visualize having an accident? Well, not to that extent, but you're thinking, what if something negative happens? And so you got to stop that visualization because it's powerful. And you
They
wonder
literally
sometimes,
create their reality.
yeah, you wonder sometimes if bad things happen, did you create them? Like, oh,
Oh,
yeah.
it's so very true. It's interesting. Years ago, I was watching a seminar, and this man talked about commercials for children. And it's Christmas time, so you've seen these commercials lately. You see these commercials, and there's these kids playing with this Hungry Hippos game, and then the camera zooms in, and it's just the Hungry Hippos game with some hands appearing here and there, and then the commercial's over. And I don't even know what they're saying in those commercials, but what happens in the child's mind is they're playing that game. When the camera zooms in, it's their hands that are playing the game. And then the game's gone. The commercial's over. And the kid runs into the kitchen and says, Mom, I want the Hungry Hippos game for Christmas. And it's
Yeah.
because the commercial has created in their mind a reality that when it's gone, they're going like, where's my game? It was here a minute ago. And that's kind of what you're talking about there. I think is that if you're clearly picturing what it is you want, what it is you're trying to achieve, you're going to have a much better chance, because your subconscious mind is thinking, well, that's the reality.
Mhm,
The reality is I stand on a stage in front of thousands of people and
mhm.
have lots of room to move around, a lot of energy, and where's my stage? It's not here. and
Yeah.
and your mind is going to start working towards making that happen. So I think, when I read that in your book, I went, wow, this is right on the money. And
Good.
that sort of ties in with some of the other things you talked about, journaling and education,
Mhm,
things that you can do first thing in the morning that start your day off with some zip.
mhm.
So I really love that part of the chapter. So one other thing I wanted to talk about in this chapter, Wayne, is what you called the recharge moment. And I thought, what a great concept. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I think the one example is, I think the thing that came to mind is as a real estate agent, we're always selling. I shouldn't say we're always selling, but we have a gear. And I realized that when I go to your kitchen table and start talking to you about real estate, I click in this gear. And so what's important is that when you find yourself sliding, how do you recharge? And how do you take that moment and bring yourself up? Because as an entrepreneur, you cannot afford to be down. For example, if you lose a sale or somebody phones up and says, "Oh, I've decided not to work with you," you go, "Oh God, like that's my whole day. I've already had that money spent, and so you can magnify the failure, magnify that loss, and it'll shut you down for the whole day. And you go home dragging your tail, and your wife says, "What's wrong?" "Oh, I lost the sale." And she's, "Oh, that's okay. Why don't we have a beer and watch movies, and then we'll go to bed?" What? No. It's only a lot, like it's only one sale, there's many more ahead. In other words, you want to recharge in that moment as fast as you can. Now, I understand there's moments of loss. We lose a partner, somebody passes away, that recharging in the moment doesn't make sense. But if you have the right mindset, if you can recharge, and somebody that's recharged and running at a higher mindset all the time, when something negative draws them down, you can't pull them down because they're right up there. And so when something negative or something not so positive happens, it's a ripple, but you're up again because you know that you have your eye on the goal ahead. And when you have your eye on the goal ahead, there'll be ripples on the road, but they won't be as big. And so that's why I talk about the recharge moment is that moment where, and some people do it different ways. Some people, like I often think, I remember going to the mall. I love people. So I'd walk through the mall and there'd be lots of people, and that would just bring energy to me. Some people like to play loud, banging music, rock and roll music to bring those are external things. Other people just like to simply, take a breath and close your eyes and just let the outside world stop. And so there's different ways in that moment to recharge, but those are things to be very aware of, and that thing that works best for you, that's what you want to focus on and grasp it. Yeah. And so it's an important moment.
I love that thinking, because so many people will let I call it a decharge moment impact their whole day. And you try to talk to them about that. You say, you've got to get past that. Like recenter yourself. I was watching, I don't know if you've seen the movie that Tom Hanks does when he portrays Mr. Rogers in Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And there's a scene in there where the man who's interviewing Mr. Rogers is saying, what do you think is the most important thing about how you do your show? And he says, well, when I'm talking to someone, I try to be talking to them 100%. He says, and on the show, I'm looking at that camera and I'm imagining it's a little girl or boy who's watching the show, and I'm giving them 100% of my attention. And it was such a poignant moment there in that movie. I thought, wow, that's, if you can, when you're dealing with people, if you can give them 100% of your attention, you're going to have a much better chance of connecting with them. And if that person then turns around and says, well, I've decided I'm going to deal with someone else, you can say, okay, who's the next person I can give 100% of my attention to?
Right, definitely.
And just move on with that. And that was kind of the thought that came to me when you talked about recharge. This has been great, Wayne. I really love this hour of power concept. It's something I've embraced over the years, and I hope that our viewers will start to think about that. But if you want more detail on how to embrace that kind of thinking, then I really encourage you to go out and purchase Wayne's book, Recharge.
Thank you, bud.
and get that that information into your head, because the ideas in there, we've only scratched the surface of what's in that chapter on the Hour of Power, or Reboot and Recharge. And so I encourage you to look for the rest, so find out what else is there. This has been Book It, and we'll look forward to seeing you at our next episode. Thanks very much, Wayne Kuhn, for coming in today, and I'll look forward to seeing you again.
Take care. Thanks, bud. Cut.